It is time to get to the game review. We're going to be reviewing Keyflower. It is a 2012 release. The designers are Richard Breeze and Sebastian Bleasdale. The artists are Juliet Breeze, Joe Breeze, what do these names have in common, and Gemma Tegelaers. And it is published by R&D Games. Jennifer, before we even get into the game, let's get into Richard Breeze. You know Richard Breeze. How did that come to be?
Well, Richard was at BGG Con, I believe, 2015. It sounds right. Mm-hmm. Or maybe it was 2013. I can't remember. Whichever BGG Con followed the release. So, me and a friend, we went to the demo. Oh, it looks good. Great. Okay, so fast forward to Strategicon and Orcon. Eric Burgess got Richard to be, a special guest for Orcon. Well, when they bring in, or when they used to bring in guests from Europe, those guests got a day on the town, to go see it. To go see LA.
Sure.
And normally Eric would have done that, but he was very busy that day. So I did it. So as you can well imagine, Richard wanted to go see an aquarium. Reef Encounter, right?
Long Beach Aquarium.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. So we went to go see the aquarium, and he really enjoyed that. Then we went to lunch. And then we went to Huntington Library and Botanical Gardens. And, we had a really nice time. I was very positive, very pleasant, very respectful.
Wow. You gotta bring my friends around when they come into town. That sounds like a really good day.
Right. It was. And he really enjoyed it. And then, so, we did the con, and then he stayed over one day because he was going to go and look at downtown LA. And I said, this is not London. You don't want to go to downtown LA because there's nothing there except gigantic skyscrapers. So he said, well, why don't we play games at your place? And I said, sure. Or maybe somehow that got into the conversation. And so I took him to my place, and we played games. And afterward, he asked me if I wanted to come spend 2 weeks with him and his dad in London.
What?
Exactly.
Is he making a move?
Of course, I would have my own bedroom. There's no hanky-panky, and he had a girlfriend anyway. Uh-huh. And so at first I said no, and then I said, I should do that. So I did it.
Wow. So you spent 2 weeks with Richard Breeze?
Pardon?
So you spent 2 weeks in England with Richard Breeze?
Yeah, and his dad's London 4,800 square foot house with the half-acre English garden.
Wow. Yeah. Holy cow.
Exactly. And, to me, the moral of the story is always be on your best behavior because you never know who's looking.
It's exactly what I tell Jesse every day. That's amazing.
Yeah, and so during that time was when I introduced, because what had happened was when he came to my house, he's like, well, where's Keyflower? Where's Key Market? Well, I sold Key Market for $150. I'm sorry.
He sold his own game. He sold his own game, or you sold?
No, I sold my copy of Key Market.
Yeah. Okay.
So when he got there, it wasn't there. And then I also had sold Keyflower. And he's like, well, how could you do that?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, the game is arbitrary, which it is. I will continue to assert under the original rules. So when I got to England, I said, let's play once seen, always seen. And he was doubtful. But after he played it, he really liked that variant.
Good. Which we are about to get into. Let's first say something about Keyflower. Keyflower is part of his Key series of games. He started the Key series all the way back in 1998 with a game called Keydom. Followed it by Key Town in 2000, Cathedral in 2002, Key Harvest in 2007, Key Market in 2010, Keyflower in 2012, and so on and so forth, all the way up to Key to the City in 2016 and Keeper in 2017, I think are the... I guess Key Flow in 2018 as well. He's putting out basically a key world game every couple years, pretty much. And but the one that was the hit of all hits was Keyflower, and to the extent that there have been 10 mini expansions to it that have been put out over the years, right?
Yep.
Tell us about Keyflower.
So Keyflower is this really cute game, little pastel colors and stuff. And so you sit down and you think, oh, this is going to be a nice, warm, fuzzy game. And then you leave the table crying. Wow. I got totally cut up. Totally. So basically, though, Keyflower is an auction game. It's not a money auction game. And one of its biggest strengths is the ability to easily determine what you really want.
Yes.
Unlike Power Grid, where, do I really need that? Or is that, but with Keyflower, you can tell what you want. So you're putting your pieces onto these tiles and trying to bid for the tiles or for the actions on the tiles. And at the end of the round, there's 4 rounds, with the exception of the last round, you will get the tiles that you won the bid on. And, it's about an hour and a half with 4 players, I think.
Yep.
And like I said, it's very brutal because you might put, I'm going to bid 3 yellow meeples to get this tile. I shouldn't have any problem. And then the very last round of that season, some jerk comes along and outbids you. And not only that, it's really bad because...
Look, Paul is my brother-in-law.
Sorry.
Paul is my brother-in-law. Please don't call him a jerk.
Excuse me. The game breaker comes along and takes you out. And what's so subtle and interesting is that by the time he takes you out, everything else has been taken, right?
Yep.
So, yeah. So you're like, oh, well, I guess I'll put it on the second to the last boat, which is probably the worst placement in the whole game.
It is so
true. And it takes skill. The other thing that's beautiful about it scales so well. 2-player is great. 3-player is great. 4-player is great. 5-player is great. 6-player. Imagine that. I hate long games that take forever. I don't mind playing this game at 6.
And let's point this out. 6-player games are a rarity. I have if a game plays to 6, my odds of picking it up and buying it go exponentially higher because there are so few games that play well with 6. There's so few. Right? So for a game that is this heavy and this deep, and it is kind of a deep game when it gets right into it, it's very thinky and very tough and very cutthroat. To have a game that plays 6 players and is still that heavy and deep is amazing.
Yeah. The whole thing is funny, though, is that when you meet Richard in your hand, he's so nice until you start playing games with him. And then you go, oh, that's a part of him that made Keyflower. Okay, I got it.
I've always said Keyflower looks like Little Women. And it plays like American Psycho. It is. Because picture this. When you play the physical game, you have this little hut. And each hut, which is basically just a place under which you're going to keep your pieces, right? You're going to keep your pieces hidden from everybody else. Your little hut, each one is different. All 6 are different. One has a slate roof, another one has a straw roof, another one has a wooden shingled roof. There are ones that have bunk beds, and there are some that have a little loft. They each have a different kind of hearth. Some of them are a stone hearth. Some of them are a a cast iron stove sort of situation. It is so beautiful and twee and just delightfully designed. And then 10 minutes later, you are literally screaming at your best friend, "You stabbed me in the back. I'm going to murder you." Because there are 3 colors of meeples. There's actually a 4th color, but we'll get to that. So there's blue, yellow, and red meeples. You're going to have a random assortment of those to start the game. And there are tiles out in front of you. And we are bidding in the 4 seasons of the game, the 4 rounds of the game, we're bidding on those tiles. And if I put a red meeple down next to that tile on my side of the tile, that means I'm bidding 1 to get that tile. But it also means that tile can only be won with red meeples. And if everybody else is really, really low on red meeples, guess what? I might have just locked that up already. Or what if I put that out there and somebody else has almost only red meeples? I'm dead, and I don't even know it yet. Oh, so good. So good. What else should we say? Should we tell people about the game and how it plays?
Well, I think, the once seen, always seen. Okay, so in the rules as written, even wait a minute. Let me start over a little bit. I'm sorry. At the end of each round, you get these boats, and the boats have meeples on them, and that's how you get more meeples. Well, in the original rules, those meeples that you choose from the boats that everybody can see go behind your hut. Mm-hmm. And the variant that I suggested to Richard, the only meeples that go behind the hut are the ones that you have taken out of the bag. Everything else people can see. And when people can see what you might have, then the game, in my opinion, becomes much more strategic.
It is a gamer's variant, for sure.
Yeah. It's a variant. I mean, but it is an official variant now.
Yeah, and a gamer's variant. Because if you don't, it is really hard to keep track. Like, I can look and see, okay, Paul took the 4th boat, so I know he's got a bunch of yellows. That's what I know. But I don't know exactly how many. And keeping track of that, especially when you're playing 4, 5, or 6 players, it's pretty much impossible. So knowing what people have is very, very difficult. Whereas if you play Jennifer's variant, which I'm still going to call Jennifer's variant because I'm pretty sure you told me it was your variant.
You know what? I'm sorry if I did.
No, it's okay. I'm just joking with you.
Yeah, I read about it on BGG, and Dave Eisen, who was a really big adherent to once seen, always seen, he suggested it. And so I still feel, he didn't tell Richard about it. I did.
No, yeah, listen,
and that's how it became the official variant. I don't want to be unethical or try to take credit that I don't deserve.
No, I've never known you to not give credit where it's due. Matter of fact, you are one of the people I think who is more often ready to say the name of the person who designed that, or the name of the person who did that, or the name of the person who consulted on that. You know that kind of information, and you share that all the time. So that's absolutely true.
Okay, good, because like I said, it's not a big thing for me. The main thing, my name didn't even need to be attached to it, but just to have it happen as an official variant, so that when I played in groups, people who I don't know, I can say, but see, this is an official variant that I'd like to play with. It's not just a house rule.
No, and I will tell you, Trey will play this game, will probably like this game a lot better with that variant.
I hope so.
One of the interesting things about it is that those meeples, that's your currency. That's all the things that you're going to have to bid on, and this game is a bidding game. You're going out there and bidding on things, but it's also what you use to activate tiles. So if I am bidding on that red tile, I put 1 red piece out, and now that tile, let's say it's the carpenter. And when people go to the carpenter, they get 2 wood. Well, guess what? Because I put a red tile, a red meeple next to it, that is now red only. So a person could outbid me by putting 2 red meeples next to it, or they could put 1 red meeple on that tile and get 2 wood right now that would go into their home hex. But whoever wins that tile gets the meeples that are sitting on top of that tile, the meeples that were used to activate that building. So these meeples are used to both activate and used to bid, and they activate and bid in the exact same way, which is you can get your first activation by spending 1, your second by spending 2 of the same color, and your third by spending 3 of the same color. The same way the bidding escalates as well. And some of these tiles will do things like it'll be put 1 here and get 2 more meeples, or sacrifice this thing and get 2 more meeples, or so on and so forth. So you're getting more meeples into your collection. You're basically getting more money for future bids, which is really interesting. And then the other really crazy thing is there is a 4th color, green, the deadly green, which, by the way, do you think that it's racist?
How could it be racist?
All right, so it's Keyflower, which is the Mayflower, right? And it's
right.
So you've got the you've got the British
think,
and you've got the Dutch and you've got the French that are coming over here to colonize the place, and then you get these little green bastards that come in, and all they want to do is take your lovely tiles and deny you them, and they're just rotten people.
I don't think it's racist, and I don't think that Richard intended for it to have some subtle racist message, because he's just not that guy. He's not that guy.
So you're taking the word of the Englishman that he's not trying to stick his finger in the eye of the Irishman. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know if I'm saying all that. I'm just saying, dude, it's not racist. Okay.
All right. I just had to get that out of my system. So also at the beginning of the game, you get end game tiles, right? There are 4 seasons, right? There's spring, summer, fall, and then winter. And the first 3 seasons, the tiles are going to be drawn out randomly. And what would you say? In any given game, there are going to be 8 or so tiles that are put out, but the total collection of tiles are 12 or so, or something along those lines. So you're never seeing all the tiles. You never are sure what's going to show up and what's not going to show up, right?
Right, yeah. I want to say something about the way that those tiles, those winter tiles, work, and why I think it was such a great design. Normally, in a lot of these games, you get your little objective tile and you kind of look at it and you hope things work out. But when you get the winter tiles, see, you already know how you need to progress to make those tiles work.
Yeah, and
I just think that it's just a better implementation of objective tiles.
Yeah, and you'll have, depending on the player count, you'll have 2 or 3 of these tiles. And if I'm playing in a 4-player game, I have 2 tiles, and I'm going to choose one, and the other one I'm going to get rid of. So I'm basically choosing one of the end game scoring surprises that's going to come out there. And by knowing what that's going to be, I can be bidding on this collection of tiles to put into my village. And by the way, other people can put people into my village. But when they do, those meeples become my meeples, and I'm going to be able to use them on the next round.
The other problem is, too, though, that's so cool with the winter tiles. Oh, I'm going to get the ones, this works best with the once seen, always seen, but I'm going to get the one that gives points every time I have, each individual color. So for every set of 3 colors, I get points. But then I go, wow, well, Paul sure has a lot of different sets. Maybe I shouldn't put that one out.
Yep. Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. And because a lot of them also value things that are on the board. It's like this one gives you a point for every wood cube that you have on this space at the end of the game. And that's public information. You can see out in front of people what they have as far as that goes. So why should the ones that reward meeples be so hidden? I think that's the reason that the variant that you have gotten to be the official variant, I think, is so key for this game.
Yeah, no, it's just much, I don't know. For me personally, it turned it from a game that I sold to a game that I actively suggest.
Yes. Now, how many of the other Key games have you played?
I have played Key Market. I've played Key Harvest. I think I've played Keeper. I have not played the Flow one. I've played a bunch of his games because he designs good games. Sometimes they don't work for me. Oh, I play tested the Inhabit the Earth one,
Yeah.
and that was not interactive enough for me. But Reef Encounter is a great game that's too hard to explain. It's still a really good game.
I still have Reef Encounter. I have not played it in 10 years, and I will not get rid of it because I love it. It is a phenomenal game. It is a stock market game that is played with little fish and things like that, and it's so far ahead of its time. It's really...
Right. Isn't it though? Yeah, It is. It's just that, I don't know, maybe one day I will borrow your copy when I can see you again and see if I can rework the rules so that it's easier to explain. Because that's what stopped us from playing it. Nobody understood it.
I totally understand. It was a long and hard teach. But you know what? Maybe now in the Vita Lacerda era, where we're learning on Mars and things like that, maybe we bring it out and we're like, oh, this isn't so bad. Here, let's get going.
That is a really good point.
You never know. All right, so sorry. I just want to make sure that we move along. Final thoughts, final points. What do we want to say about Keyflower to people?
Yeah, I would say Keyflower is not a gateway game, but it's a next step after your gateway game.
Yes, I think that it is a very easy game to understand. I think it is not that hard to learn how to play. Okay, so the negatives. Here are the negatives. Negative number one is the art is very, very hit and miss. Some of the art in it is gorgeous and twee and bucolic and idyllic and all that sort of stuff, and some of it looks like... It looks like playtesting art. It looks like the tiles that you take to be able to have the first choice of ships, for instance, looks like somebody cut and pasted something on a prototype, and it doesn't look like it belongs in the rest of the game. So that's a little thing. It's a mean game. It just is. You're gonna make a plan, and you're gonna have it dashed by that smiling person sitting right next to you when they bid green meeple on the tile that you absolutely need, and you have no green meeples. You're gonna be dashed when you put three of your hard-earned yellow meeples on a tile that you absolutely need, and some psychopath puts 4 there.
I know, but the other really cool thing that can happen, so you have your little green machine, and as you use green meeples, they go back into the bag. So you come along, I'm going to put my green meeple there because I really want that, and some jerk has 2 green meeples that they've randomly drawn out of the bag.
Yeah. Yes.
And you're like, what?
Yes, the random green meeple is the worst green meeple. It's the Irishman that you don't see coming. That is the worst Irishman. I think that's what Richard Breeze meant when he designed that into the rules of the game. A couple other things. I think in teaching the game, I think that this game rewards people that understand what is possible in the winter. So I would put out the winter tiles and say, not all of these are going to come out, but let's look at what some of the big scoring things are. Here's the way you get points in the game. You get points by upgrading your tiles and flipping to their opposite side. So collecting these items and transporting them to the right location is important. And then here are the end game things. These are the things that are going to score. And let's just see where we go. The one other knock I have on Keyflower, which is a fairly small one, is that the expansions are tricky. They have great expansions, so many expansions for Keyflower, but the big expansions like the farmers and stuff, the merchants, they have a hard time integrating into the game because if you have to figure out how to put those tiles in the game, because what you end up having is a draw where you have one set of pigs and then nothing else to go with those pigs. Like you'll be investing in something that won't have any payoff. if that makes any sense to you.
Right. Yeah, I don't. I mean, the expansions are good if you want variety, but a lot of people don't need it. It's kind of like, like it's almost an abstract in a way, and it kind of is like Tigris in that you don't really need more Tigris because it's already fulfilling, right?
Well, tell that to Yellow and Yangtze.
Yeah, but that's not really an expansion. That's a remake.
Yes, that's correct. You're absolutely right. So I think what we're saying is Keyflower is a really great game if you can handle it. If you can handle a little mean, you have to be able to handle a little mean. If you can handle a little mean, this is a really, really good game, and we highly recommend it. And especially if you have a gaming group that sometimes has 6 players, I could not more highly recommend this game. At the 5 and 6 player level, it plays like a dream. It's one of the best games. I think I totally am echoing what Jennifer said. It plays so good at those higher player counts in a way that very few games do.
Yep.
All right. I think any last words?
Nope.
Look it up. Get Keyflower, and when you do, search the Board Game Geek page for Jennifer's or for the variant that Jennifer recommends. That
it's actually in the rules for the first expansion, Farmers.
Yes,
It's there.
But if you're just getting Keyflower and you're not getting the first expansion, you should still look up those rules because it makes the base game better. It really is about that.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
Hey, if you enjoyed that video, you very well might enjoy the other videos you now see being suggested to you on screen. Also, we'd greatly appreciate it if you could like, share, or subscribe to our Game Brain channel. Thanks so much.